What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another swatch review for you. Today we're talking about Essie. We've got their new limited edition Snow White collection. Now, if you haven't heard of Essie before, they are a mainstream brand and all of their polishes are 7-free, meaning they are free of 7 of the potentially harmful ingredients that can be found in nail polish. They're vegan, meaning they do not use any animal-derived ingredients, and they're also cruelty-free, meaning they do not test their products on animals. So they recently released 8 new nail polishes, all Snow White themed. And we also have within that 2 special effects toppers. If you watched, I did a video a little while back on their special effects line in general. So it's basically polishes that you can wear as toppers over other colors, and it's kind of transformative. So I was really intrigued by this collection, although I will admit I've actually never seen any iteration of Snow White before. Not the original, not the new one. I don't know if there's books about it. I don't really know anything about Snow White, to be totally honest. Let me show you all the swatches first, then we can talk more about pricing, where you can get them, all that good stuff. So roll the swatch footage. So as with all of my swatch and review videos, I am using base coat underneath all of my swatches just to protect my natural nail and prevent any stains. I believe this was the ILNP base coat. Starting off with Just Take a Bite, and this one is an absolutely stunning red, and it actually has a shimmer in there as well, which is a little bit on the faint side, but it has this really beautiful golden sheen to it, and I fell in love with this polish at first swipe. I love a good red, and the formula on this was incredible. It was full coverage in the first coat on me. I think it's really stunning for any time of year. It just feels like a very classic kind of color to me, and I think having that shimmer in there just really adds to making it feel very special and almost a little velvety. Then we have No Prints Needed. This is actually the only cream finish of the collection, so this one is a slightly peachy light pink pastel color, and I have to say on application I was really impressed at first because this is a very smooth formula and it's also very opaque, so I could tell it was going to be a 2-coater, even though light polishes like this can sometimes be 3 or even more. But one thing I did notice about this polish is that it wasn't as self-leveling as I'm used to from Essie, so I was a little bit disappointed in that. I feel like you can tell, especially around my cuticle area, that it just did not even out very nicely as it dried, so definitely not my favorite. Then we have the shade Reclaim the Mirror, and this is a silver metallic chrome polish, but it is a little bit different in that there is a slight bit of warmth to this polish, and as you can see in the first coat it looked like it was a tiny bit sheer, but it was actually just because it was reflecting me, because it definitely has that very strong mirror effect. So as I moved my head away just to move my nail around, you could see a lot better that it's actually really opaque, but I did end up doing 2 coats anyway. I think this is a really fun one, and I love having a drugstore option for this kind of finish, but I will warn you, if you have imperfections in your nails, this kind of polish will make them more noticeable. Next up we have the shade Tempted with Envy, and this one is a deep purple jelly that has a ton of sparkle in it. So we have this shimmer, but there's also these little larger flecks of shimmer, which I feel like is something that Essie tends to do really well, just making a shimmer have that little extra sparkle that catches the light slightly differently and makes a polish look more sparkly. Now I will say in person this one did look full coverage in 2 coats on me, but looking at it on camera now I feel like I definitely should have gone with a 3rd coat. But that said, the color was nice, that jelly formula was nice, and I really do like that deep purpley sparkle. Moving on, we have the shade Brave and True, and this one is a cobalt blue jelly, so it has a little bit of this sheerness to it. You can see a little bit of the visible nail line through the polish, and even though it does have that sheer look, it actually ends up looking pretty smooth and even across the nail, giving that sort of jello/jelly vibe. And I love this polish. I love the color. It's so vibrant. I love wearing this type of shade in the summertime, and I feel like this is going to be a lot of fun to experiment with doing jelly sandwiches with. So really loved this one. And then we have what might be a surprise favorite of the collection. This is Seize the Crown, and you know I love a green nail polish, but for some reason this wasn't totally speaking to me in the bottle, but once I applied it on my nails I really fell in love with it. It's just this beautiful classic medium green base, and then we've got this green sparkly shimmer in there, again with those larger little flecks in there that catch the light differently, and I just thought it looked so magical and deep. I feel like the shimmers in there almost have a little bit of a blue tinge to them, so it makes it that much more special. I will say it's definitely giving a little bit more of a fall winter vibe, but I love it regardless. So now moving on to the 2 special effects finishes. This first one is called called Good Things Glow, and this one is a clear gold glitter topper, and you can see there is so much coverage on this. It's got this stunning yellow gold vibe to it, but it's so even across the nails. So I first applied it just to see what it looked like on its own, and honestly, one coat, really gorgeous. I feel like that as a base to like a really delicate floral manicure or a French manicure would be so cute. 2 coats, also beautiful. 3 coats really packed a punch on my nails, in my opinion. I feel like you got a nice brightness to it, but you still got that almost jelly-like vibe where you could see the visible nail line, and I thought it was really fun. But of course, this one is definitely meant to be a topper, and I think that's where it really excels. I tried it over the red, and I thought it was such a stunning combination. It just looked, I know I always say this when I see red and gold together, but it just looked like the perfect Lunar New Year manicure. I think this is perfectly stunning. And then the final shade of the collection is another special effects topper. This one is Fiercest of them all, and this one's a really interesting one. So we've got this sort of orchid jelly base. It's definitely very sheer, and then we have a pinky shimmer running throughout, as well as iridescent flakes, and they're definitely on the subtle side. You can see in 2 coats, you can barely see any of the little iridescent flakes on there, but I will say in 3 coats, this actually ended up looking like a really pretty jelly manicure. Again, you could see the layers and you could see my visible nail line through, but you could also get all the levels of that pinky color. You could get the shimmer in there, and you could also see more of those flakes coming through, and I thought that was really interesting. This one, I'm not so sure how I feel about it as a topper. I'll definitely have to experiment over other colors, because when I tried it over the blue, I felt like it didn't really do that much to it. I think that these flakes might be a little bit too sparse, so I'm not really sure if that gave it the effect that I wanted it to. I was kind of imagining like an oceanic vibe, and I wasn't quite getting it. But here are all the polishes together, and I have to say, overall the collection I was really impressed with. I think the only ones that I wasn't totally enamored by were the pinks and purple, and even then I feel like I could make them work. It's just that they weren't the easiest to work with. I ended up really enjoying them for the most part. I think the colors are just kind of classic. They seem like more on the basic side in terms of where they are on the color wheel, but as far as finishes, I think they're very special. I love the extra shimmer, and I love what Essie does, like I said, with adding that little extra sparkly fleck in there to kind of catch the light a little bit differently. So I think they did an amazing job on that. I'm not sure that this is necessarily a spring color story to me, but I really like it. I feel like it's just nice to see a collection like this come out any time of year, because you get a lot of staple colors. So I thought that was really good, and I do think that the Essie formula is really top notch, especially for being a drugstore brand. So overall, definitely beginner friendly and really nice staple colors, like I said. So let's talk about it a little bit more. So yeah, those are the polishes, and for the most part, I definitely enjoyed them. I think they're good quality, especially for being drugstore polishes, and I do appreciate the variety of different finishes that they gave us. The colors feel very special to me. They're not just a bunch of creams, which, don't get me wrong, I do love a good cream finish. Sometimes I just want something a little bit extra, and I think that Essie really delivered here. And even though I've not seen any Snow White content, I do feel like the colors make sense for it. Everything that I've seen associated with Snow White feels like it's within this color story, so I think that works out really well. And I also appreciate that they're not necessarily spring specific colors. These just feel like staple colors that you can break out any time of year, but honestly, to me, they almost feel a little bit more like wintry shades. So I feel like I'm going to be able to enjoy wearing them for multiple seasons, so I do appreciate that. And I had fun with the special effects toppers, definitely a little bit more so with the gold. I think that one's super gorgeous. The jelly one I kind of have to play around with. I'm not so sure how I feel about that one. But yeah, now let's get into pricing and availability. All these polishes come in 13.5 milliliter bottles. They do actually have a little limited edition cap with little Snow White designs on them, but they do have the regular wide flat brush with a rounded tip. The Essie brush is slightly longer than other brands that have this type of brush, so just something to keep in mind, but I don't really have an issue with it. I think it's also very easy to work with. But yeah, these polishes are available in drugstores. The pricing can vary based on which store you're getting them from, but as far as buying them online, you can actually get them on Amazon. I saw they're there for $9.99 USD each, so I'm gonna link that down below. You can check them out if you're interested, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think of this collection? What do you think of the color story? story and how it relates to the current season, and which color is your favorite. Leave it all in the comments, we can chat about it. And if you enjoy my swatch and review videos, please hit that like button, it really helps me out. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe. I love you all, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. I don't know why I'm going with these themed would you rathers, but for some reason it's so fun to me. I looked up Disney would you rathers, or like fairy tale would you rathers, and there's a lot that are very specific that I'm not familiar with because I didn't really grow up on Disney stuff, but there was one that really got me, which is, would you rather kiss a frog or be a frog? And I would rather be a frog. And that is because I feel like frogs are so fun. Like, they're just slimy and they're just chilling and they don't really think too much, I'm pretty sure. Like they're kind of just like there and like little blobs of slimy frogness. And I don't know, that just kind of feels like a dream life to me. So I would pick being a frog. I feel like that is going to be the unpopular answer, because if you kiss a frog with like the guarantee that the frog is going to be like royalty, like a prince or princess or whoever, and they're going to give you like a wonderful happily ever after, I get that. But I feel like I would also be happily ever after being a frog. Let me know if you agree with me or if you disagree. Leave it all in the comments, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!